salsa, reggae.
Welcome to week 4 of ASM 246, Human Origins. We're moving along at quite a quick pace, but we're going to now begin to focus much more closely on the record for human evolution. What do these fossil hominins look like? Where were they found? How old are they? How deep in the past can we go? How close to that division from a common ancestor that gave rise to the African apes and to us can we actually get? What are the telltale features of these fossils that show us that they are distinctive and different species? What do we base those distinctions on? And what are the implications for the behavior, for the adaptations of those particular species? What are some of the unique features that define humans? Well, this week, we're going to focus for the first 2 lectures on our unique locomotion, upright walking, bipedal walking, walking on 2 feet, or bipedalism as it's called. What are the origins of bipedalism? And in our first presentation, we're going to talk about what are the distinctive features of our kind of locomotion compared to other primates, compared to other mammals. We are indeed the only ones who get around on 2 feet, 2 legs. A personal story that when I began working on my own expeditions in Ethiopia in the early 1970s, the very first discovery of a fossil hominin I made was of a knee. And here is a cast of that knee. This is the bottom end to your thigh bone, or the femur. This is the top end to your shin bone, or lower leg bone, or what's called a tibia. And this joint is the one that bends when we walk at the knee. What's missing here, of course, is the kneecap, that fits right into this little slot. Well, when I found this, having spent all my time working on chimpanzee teeth, I didn't know a lot about the anatomy of a knee. But once I brought these specimens back to the laboratories in the United States and talked to specialists, I began to get an enormous appreciation for the details in anatomy, those very minor things we might not think about very often, that distinguish this as an upright walking knee, which meant that the creature that possessed it was upright walking. And because upright walking is found only in hominins, it was one of our ancestors. This is about 3.4 million years old. It took back in time the origins of upright walking, maybe as much as 600,000 or 700,000 years over what we knew before that. This was a defining moment for me, a very rewarding one. And in the first lecture this week, we're going to look at the details of anatomy. What is bipedalism? And what are the correlates in the skeleton of walking upright? In the second presentation, we're going to talk about why. Not why did our ancestors become upright? That's the wrong question to ask, as you will learn. But why was upright walking so incredibly successful? The quadrupeds, the apes, and other primates have been in decline for tens of millions of years. On the other hand, when hominins arose, somewhere between 6 and say 8 million years ago, the adaptation, the behavior of walking upright was one that was so successful that today there are almost 7 billion of us walking around this planet. This was the primary change in behavior, the primary adaptation. And we're going to spend a lot of time on that. This is the only part of our anatomy in this course that we're going to spend so much time looking at the bones, the anatomy, and the function. And then we've got 2 lectures this week on the earliest hominins. We'll talk about possible hominins that stretch back more than 6 million years, highly controversial, highly debated. We'll talk about an incredibly interesting Ardipithecus ramidus that has really divided the field. Many people think it's, like I do, I think it's on a side branch. I don't think it is an ancestor to later things like Lucy. Then we'll talk a great deal, of course, about Lucy's species, but that's going to come next week. And then we're going to talk about discoveries in Kenya that are also from the pre-million year, 4 million year time range, and are fascinating for us as we try to reconstruct the geometry of the human family tree. I know this is going to be an interesting week, a fascinating week. It's going to be heavy on anatomy, but I think at the end of the week, you're going to really understand a lot more about why we walk the way we do and what those earliest hominins look like. So enjoy the week.
Reggae, you rasta reggae.